Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain Break It Down Forex. It's your boy Big Bain in this thing. You guys guessed it, another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. All right, boom, over on the dollar, guys. Actually, before I hop into what's going on the dollar, I want to tell you guys that we have currently geopolitical conflict, right? So everybody knows it's going down between Israel and Iran. All right, and because of that, that's going to shake up the markets in the Forex market. So this week coming, guys, you may see a lot of volatility on things like NAS and US 30. Again, when there's conflict, typically that causes the dollar to go up, right? It's strange that war, would do such a thing, but it's the way it is. All right. Also, it'll cause gold to skyrocket, right? Silver, it really depends on silver. Silver can go up or down. Typically it follows gold, but this may be an opportunity for it to drop as well, right? Just depending on, how political, geopolitical things are. All right. But those, are some of the things that typically happen, during these times. Plus, we got news for the dollar every single day next week, guys. So it will be a roller coaster. So you guys might want to pay attention to this weekly watch list because it's going to hit different because of what's going on in the world. All right. So with that being said, now over to the dollar, guys. I think we're going to get a drop on the dollar just to complete the pullback, right, to this brand new change of character that we had over here at this purple line, where the dollar was falling and then it started to rise, breaking structure or changing structure from down to up, and now it's completing now that it's rising, it's trying to begin the pullback right to that newly found push up. All right, so it gave us a nice double top, broke the neckline, made a new low, retested to that neckline that it broke. It's picture perfect, right? So it may push up a little bit, fill in the gap, then fill in the imbalance and the demand at these areas that created the break of or the change of character. All right, guys, that's how that works. So if you can trade the dollar, all right, which you can with the KOT Forex broker, all right, link will be in the description. So if you guys are looking to be able to trade the dollar like a Forex pair, check out KOT Forex and sign up with the link in the description. All right, but we're looking for that pullback to come into demand and then give us rejection, showing some bulls, right? That'll shoot the dollar up with the beginning of a reversal from down to up. All right, guys, so that's what is expected on the dollar, right? A bit of a push up, then a push down, and then the main thing will be the dollar rising. So look out for that. All right, moving over to our dollar. All right, we got a nice bit of consolidation in this area after we broke this low. So right now we're kind of just hovering around the low that we made when we had to break a structure. So there's no telling if we're going to get rejection from that, but because I know that the dollar is going to initially go down, I will look to buy the odd dollar. All right, you guys can see that position here on the lower time frame. Let's go 15 minute. All right, you can see that's more of how I'm looking to take the odd dollar, right? I'm looking for a sweep of these equal lows that sit here. So boom, price push down and then puts me into a buy, trying to fill the imbalance to the upside. Again, we got a significant move down. Again, in this consolidation, guys, we're buying from the low, right? It's just how it goes, right? You buy low, you sell high. Consolidation, sell from the top, buy from the bottom. That's exactly what I'm doing on the odd dollar, and I'll be looking to catch over 50 pips pretty much. So 9 pip stop loss for a 50 pip take profit. All right, I'm bullish on odd dollar. All right, moving to euro dollar. All right, let's get higher. All right, take a look at our beautiful structure. All right, kaboom. So again, with the dollar potentially looking like it's going to give us that pullback, the euro dollar should rise. So I'm expecting it to kind of get a little deeper to this demand level, right? When we look at it on the 2-hour time frame, you'll see. All right, boom, right? Got that nice break, changing character from down to up, right? So once we get the break, the pullback is expected to one of your key areas. So with this demand area, it's, prices efficient. There's no gaps, right? The fair value gap has been mitigated. but on this demand area, the fair value gap has not been mitigated. Therefore, euro dollar can come down to that demand area before it begins to rise. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if it does that, I'll be ready with the buy limit, right? But it may not do that, and it may just bounce right from the efficient price action that it has at this demand level and just take it right on up. So, you know, either way, bullish on euro dollar. But of course, once it gets to sweeping this liquidity, I'll be looking to sell the euro dollar, as I believe the dollar will increase because of the wars. All right, pound dollar. All right, so I'm bullish on it as well. It gave us a nice change of character right here, right? So we were making lower lows, lower highs, and then on a lower time frame, so let's look at the 15-minute once again. Okay, on this lower time frame, you can see that we broke these lows, but then price eventually came back and broke above this high, which broke below this low that made it a strong high. So once we broke that strong high, we're now no longer bearish, right? We're bullish now, and you can see price is going up ever since it broke that high. It just pulled back to demand and then shot all the way up, right, to the next level of resistance. Game of zones is what I call it, guys, from support or supply to demand, right? Just a ping pong game. And when you guys kind of understand that, you're going to know how to make your money. All right, so now we're pulling back, all right, to this demand area, right, that broke this high, right? So price pushed up and it broke that high. So we got a nice little demand area sitting right around here that price will most likely dip into before it starts to go up again. All right, so looking at pound dollar on a higher time frame. All right, now you guys can see the opportunity, right? Tap into that demand, get all the way up to fill this imbalance at this supply level, and then when the dollar gets strong, we sell from this supply level and take it on down back the opposite direction. All right, guys, it's how we do it. All right, this is how we do it. I heard somebody say all right, but definitely got a nice setup on GU to go long and then reverse from supply and go down. All right, bullish and bearish on pound dollar. All right, New Zealand dollar also bullish. All right, so kind of in the making of a double bottom. It's just I like that we had this push down and we're respecting this low for now. All right, so just kind of looking at it on a lower time frame, and yeah, things are looking pretty decent. All right, in terms of having a nice opportunity to make some money as price rises up to this high, potentially here, maybe even where we have liquidity, which will give you about 111 pips, right? 111 angel numbers, guys. So I like this play a lot because of that. All right, my team was already in it, but you guys can get in it from a lower price. All right, New Zealand dollar bullish. All right, dollar CAD, another play of the week. All right, guys, where it is going to fall. All right, so dollar CAD will push up and sweep liquidity, right? And it'll push down a little bit, right? Somewhere, you know, to this low, or possibly even this one, right? It'll do that as the dollar is performing its pullback, right? The dollar CAD will fall, but then after the dollar gets strong, the dollar CAD will rise. So we're looking to buy from, you know, one of these areas. It's going to be this one, it's going to be this one, right? Or it's going to be this one, right? So one of these areas, 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, right? Like that is where dollar CAD may turn around from. So just initially bearish on dollar CAD, but a very, very nice setup though. Again, it could sweep, balance out the fair value gap above it. So just be careful, because again, this is liquidity in its own, right? Those equal highs. So it'll push up, sweep that, continue pushing up until it, you know, balances out the imbalance that sits right below this supply area. It does that. That's your better sell opportunity on dollar CAD. All right, but you know, we got to play this how it goes by what it shows us. All right, but bearish on dollar CAD. All right, dollar CHF, we got a nice rising channel into a supply area. All right, guys, so again, I'm expecting price to push up right up into that fair value gap, potentially the supply area, and then drop, all right, for over 120 pips. I'm bearish on dollar CHF. All right, dollar JP, dollar JPY. So a nice rising channel on this 4-hour time frame, right? So we got a lot of beautiful structure on the UJ. All right, we got to look at it in detail over on the 15-minute time frame, right? So we had a nice break of structure here, right? Price ended up pushing up, making some equal highs, but then sweeping that, and then again, just another break of structure here. I didn't, put anything there, but that's another break to where we go make a new high. Now we're starting to pull back. Okay, so I'm expecting a little push up further because there's some equal highs up here on the lower time frames. Once it does that, then I expect it to fall to either this demand area, this one, or this one, right? It all depends. So just, initially I'm thinking, dollar JPY will, take this push up, right? Sweep these equal highs and then fall. That's why I have a sell limit here, right? I think it'll go and try to get to this demand level that's over 85 pips, but that might not happen, right? It might get here, and reverse from either one of those. So you got to be real careful and take what you can as if you're looking to catch that pullback, right, on dollar JPY, because again, it just broke this high. So this is the new high. So mainly these areas are the areas that initiated the break of this high. So that's where price most likely is going to want to reverse from when it starts to go back up. All right, so hopefully that made sense. If it did, thumbs up, hit like, right, and subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, guys, really appreciate the love. All right, that's what we got on dollar JPY. All right, moving over to pound odd. All right, pound odd has a nice bearish setup. All right, so we broke some lows over here. We started doing our thing, started pulling back, and now we're getting to a major supply area. All right, yep, major supply area on pound odd. So I expect a nice push up into it and then a drop from there. 283 pips on the table for very nice setup on pound odd and bearish. All right, over to pound cat. So here, guys, we can see that price has given us a change of character, went to make a new high, and it's pulling back. But now, because it broke this recent high here, it's at a demand area. So when we look at it on the lower time frame, right now we can see, right, we have a bullish opportunity. All right, so there is that demand area defined or redefined on this time frame. So we can expect price to push down into this demand area exactly, right? Just taking a little bit more of this fair value gap. So pushing down and then rising from there. So we can do a position like this, a 1 to 6, 11 pips to make 67 pips on dollar CAD. Very beautiful play. I'm bullish. All right, over to dollar CHF. Again, let's get to a higher time frame, see what's going on. All right, and there's a lot going on. We need to go to the daily to see it. All right, this is one I'm very, very mixed on. So, I mean, because of what I know that can happen, I can see a drop from here getting to the next demand level. So I might take a sell to catch it there, but then I also see it getting to this demand level and then rising all the way up to supply, again sweeping this liquidity and then finally tapping into supply. So long term, I actually am going to be looking for a buy on pound CHF, but initially it looks like we might get a drop to that area first before it rises, but who knows, it could respect this area because it's already gotten there, and it could just start to rise from here. So it's going to be a tough call, but ultimately I'm looking to go long on pound CHF. All right, so I'll say bullish. All right, over to pound JPY. All right, let's get down with the get down. We'll do 30-minute and see what we got. All right, boom, looks like a double top to me. All right, so GJ broke this high, made this new high, did all the pulling back right to our key demand area, guys. From there, price started to move on its way up, gave us a change of character from down to up, and from there made a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. But now we're failing to make any higher highs, right? We kind of got equal highs right here, right? On a 30-minute time frame, looks like a double top. So with that, I'm looking to go short on dollar JPY all the way back down to this demand level, right, that initiated the break of this high, right, and that is 192 pips on the table with GJ. I'm bearish. All right, over the pound New Zealand, so I have a bearish position on it. Yeah, so we broke this low, made this new low. Here's all the pullback with the change of character from when we were going down to switching to going up, right? Kept steady, broke structure, going up, broke structure again, going up. But now we're at that major level of resistance. And because we have equal highs to the left, I'm expecting price to go and sweep those highs and then drop down to the demand area that's here that broke this previous high. All right, so ultimately it's going to push up, but then from there I'm looking to catch pound New Zealand going down to this level of demand, 415 pips. All right, over the crude oil. All right, so because of the tension, typically oil will rise. Okay, so what I'm expecting is a sweep of oil liquidity to the downside, so going to take away sell side liquidity. All right, tap into this demand area and then go for the buy side liquidity that we see here. All right, so that's what I'm expecting, because this rising wedge is a bearish reversal chart pattern. So I expect it to sweep liquidity low first and then go and sweep liquidity high, and probably, you know, start to go higher because of the geopolitical tension. All right, so bearish then bullish on oil, but just know that it might not sweep liquidity here. It may just go to sweep it here and continue to rise, right? But either way, I'm looking for a rise on oil. All right, bullish. Silver, like I mentioned, guys, silver typically follows gold when there's geopolitical tension, right, where it becomes a safe haven asset that people will, you know, place their money in. So that could definitely cause silver to rise up. There's a lot of imbalance here to the upside for it to go up, right? And it has just swept liquidity off of this trend line, right? And it's found a demand area because we just had a change of character. So typically it wants to go and tap into demand before it rises up. You guys kind of see my position here on the lower time frames. Right, so on the 15-minute, you can see that I'm expecting silver to drop a little bit, but then from there, right, I have a position to buy it up to this supply area, and then when it gets to the supply area, I also have a position to sell it from there, right? So silver can be very mixy. It doesn't just you know, follow gold under, you know, the pressure of war, right? There's different factors that'll make it go up or down. Unlike with gold, it just typically goes up no matter what the circumstances are. All right, so bullish then bearish on silver, but guys, it's gonna, you know, be a lot of volatility in the market this week. So again, I hope you guys aren't sleeping on the beat and you're gonna get to the money. All right, over to gold. So here on gold, I got a long position, just like I mentioned. You know, geopolitical stuff, it's just what it does. Now it's making equal lows right here, and it can just simply rise. But because it made equal lows, you guys should know that that's liquidity sitting behind here. And then because there's imbalance, right, that caused the change of character, which was really right here. Okay, well, actually it was right there first, but there's another break here. So with that imbalance, that is definitely going to gravitate gold to push down to grab that, right, all that free money, and then tap into this demand area before it begins its rise, right? So just initially bearish on gold, right? And you can get, you know, let's say a $21 move out of gold, that's 210 pips, right? And then turn around and get a $32 move on gold, which is 320 pips, all right, to the upside. So guys, you got a gold play where you can sell it coming down to demand and then reverse it, knowing what's going on with the world with Iran and Israel. Buy it, right, as a safe haven at a low price, and then make 320 pips going up, guys. That's the only two trades that you'll need for the week, right? And I got plenty more of where that came from. All right, so gold bearish, all right, initially, but then definitely bullish long term. All right, moving over to natural gas. Again, guys, in times of uncertainty, natural gas, or time of war, really, natural gas rises, right? So we just had a change of character on the lower time frame, coming off this demand area, right? So showing from lower lows, lower highs to now potentially new high, right? Higher lows and higher highs. So I'm expecting natural gas to push down into this level of demand on the lower time frame. So if I take you guys to the 5-minute, all right, there you guys can see, there's where we had the change of character, right? We had a new high. So now price is going to pull back to fill this imbalance or tap into this demand before rising. And you have a very, very nice setup on natural gas, guys, for the buy. Look at that. All right. Beauty. All right. So push down, tap into demand, take off to the upside, and natural gas pays. All right. So bullish on that. All right. Over to SPY. Okay, so I got a long position on SPY again because the dollar is initially going to be headed down, right, during this pullback before it does the rise. And with war, right, typically, the indices tend to do good, right? You know what I mean? It's just what it is, right? Or at least they push up, or no, they'll push down initially, and then long term perform better, right, if you will. So over the longer term. So either way, right, double bottom here, or triple bottom if you will, right, where we did get a change of character to the downside. So all of this was just the pullback to this strong supply that we're currently respecting. So of course SPY could just fall, right? It can continue falling, but when I look at it on a lower time frame, right, I see that we got this strong higher low, right, with no real inefficiency in price. So it makes me feel like it wants to continue rising. Again, I can get away with this tight stop here or place it behind the swing here, right, to catch it up to this level of supply where you guys can see there's plenty of imbalance. All right, so again, liquidity sitting all behind this downtrend line. We haven't taken out any of it except for just right about here. So I still feel like we'll get a rise, right, on SPY as the dollar's dropping, right? It may go all the way up here, it may go halfway, right? We don't know, but we'll get something out of there before the dollar becomes strong. And at that point, that's where we're wanting to sell SPY to take it all the way to the downside, where there's probably going to be crazy volatility and you're going to make the most money you've ever made on SPY. All right, looking at it from a higher time frame, yep, it's already giving us the curve. All right, guys, so from that uptrend, a little consolidation, a little whoop the whoop, but now we're starting to visibly make those lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, right? So next lower low to go, to keep going as low as it wants to go. All right, guys, so we're seeing the shift right now in the indices, but you got to know how to read it and take advantage. All right, so I'm bullish initially on SPY, but then bearish from the highs. All right, moving over to NAS. All right, you guys can see I also have two positions, one where I expect NAS to push down into this demand, filling this imbalance, right, and then taking off up to the supply area where I'll be looking to sell. So again, kind of inverse from SPY, right, where I'm looking to buy SPY. Well, actually it's the same. I'm just waiting for this to drop before I buy it first. That's all. All right, so it's the exact same as SPY. I'm looking for the drop on NAS to demand, buy it from there, right, and then from these highs I'll be looking to sell NAS. And both of these plays are 300 plus pips or points, all right, up and down. So bullish then bearish on NAS. All right, last but not least, US 30. All right, let's get a little higher, all right, and see what's really going on. All right, boom, very nice clean structure, guys. So we ended up breaking this low as the recent price action, making a new low, and now we pull back to this area, right, of supply. There, we have a trend line, so there's liquidity that sits behind that, and then also we can still make bullish structure because we have that liquidity sitting behind this trend line. So as I get to a lower time frame, right, I'm looking at structure and I'm seeing, okay, because we're respecting this supply, we could just drop, right? And if we do just drop, then I have a buy position for that, right, to get into this demand area and then rise up. But then we could also just start rising to sweep this liquidity, get the liquidity sitting behind this high, balance out this imbalance, and tap into supply, right? A lot can happen, for what would attract price to the upside, right? So I have both positions in place, depending on whatever, US 30 decides it wants to do, right? And this is how you guys can, operate it too, right? You don't have to pick one side, right? If you kind of know what price is supposed to do, you can put yourself in position to take advantage of either outcome. All right, at least that's how I'll level you up. All right, if I feel like a Sierra, level up. All right, but that's how I will level you up if you come and join BBIDF. Right, the link for the Discord is on my official website, forexwithbain.com. Come on over, guys. I promise y'all, it's all good. All right, but again, guys, that'll be it. Hope y'all take advantage. A lot gonna be going down this week. You heard it from me first, right? But I just want y'all to get it. Okay, so in the meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace.
Wanna get money? Wanna get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you gotta come and swing my way. And if you wanna fast forward, hit replay.